What's up, everybody? Welcome to SWAT MMA, where we're smoking weed and we're talking mixed martial arts. This is episode number 127. I'm Jarrod, here with Paul.
What up?
Coming to you from the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas. Today we're going to be smoking and talking all about the results of UFC 272 with a focus on the main and the co-main event. Then we're going to take a dive into BKFC NY 2, featuring Jared Grant versus Anthony Rectic for the interim bantamweight title, and also featuring the debut of British bare-knuckle champion Connor Tierney versus short-notice replacement Jeremiah Riggs. We interviewed Connor just a little while ago, and he is going to be appearing that interview on the end of this show as well, so stick around for that. Before we get into the combat sports, though, you know what time it is. Grab your weed, fire it up, and let's get into the weed of the week.
Smoke weed every day.
Yup.
Ooh, we got a classic today, sir.
Mm-hmm. Got the Pineapple Express in the joint.
Oh, yeah. You know, this weed has been around a long time, well before the movie. But it is a cross of Trainwreck and Hawaiian, and definitely rose to fame with the Seth Rogen, what's that other dude's name? Joint. James somebody. Franco, yeah. Dude, I actually watched that like a month or two ago.
I watch that literally every single week of my life. It's it's literally one of my favorite movies.
You know, it used to be that Half Baked was like the pinnacle of stoner movies, at least for me. And I guess Friday's kind of in there, but Friday doesn't have enough weed to really be like a stoner movie.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, man, this one that's the fucking king. Pineapple Express.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. There's
what
so
do you
many
think
good
is the best
ones.
stoner movie?
There's a lot of good ones.
I'm not saying the others suck. I'm just saying what's the best.
I don't even really know if it's considered like a stoner movie, but it's like just like a good comedy that also features like marijuana in it.
Now, if you're gonna say what I think you're gonna say,
Super Troopers is like
Troopers
is a great fucking. I guess you'd call it a weed comedy.
See, those I wouldn't really classify in this category, because then you got to be like, well, what about Big Lebowski?
Yeah,
because he smokes a fair amount of weed in there.
Big Lebowski counts too.
But I was thinking more like a weed movie. Like Big Lebowski
centered about
a kidnapping movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Pineapple Express is
literally about pot.
It's all about weed, a weed heist, weed. You know what I mean? Weed dealers.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the genre I was narrowing it down to.
I want to smack the shit out of myself for forgetting what the name of this movie is. Oh no, How High, right? With fucking
How High, Method Man.
Yeah, that's another classic as well.
Method Man and Red Man. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one. I haven't seen that in forever.
They tried to remake that one a couple years ago. It was not very good.
I didn't bother watching that shit, dog. I'm a big hip hop fan and rap fan, but I couldn't fuck with that remake. Kind of straight off a lot of those. Like Snoop did a lot of those like Car Wash and Airplane movies or some shit.
Yeah, pretty much you can constitute any movie Snoop is in as a marijuana movie.
Pretty much. Pretty much. You know who just had a movie come out that I want to check out? I just haven't yet. Is Boozy Badass self-released a fucking documentary style movie. It's like not an actual documentary; it's a movie. But I mean, he plays himself in the movie, and it's based on his life.
I know this has nothing to do with it, but also that Michael Bisping documentary is about to come out too.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, it's like a biopic, but like he like plays himself.
It's weird when they do that, when it's like it's not a documentary, it's a biopic, but then the actual person is playing
like
himself.
Plays himself, yeah.
Fucks with my head.
It does, yeah, it's weird.
Like, well, how real is this?
Strange, yeah.
Did you think, would the guy go along with some bullshit? You're like, no, that didn't happen, bro.
Yeah. I just watched the Kanye West one on Netflix.
I got that in my queue of shit to watch.
It's actually pretty fucking good.
Dude, I think Kanye could fucking shit, man.
Yeah, you can kind of see where he goes off the rails, too. Which is a good and a bad thing, I guess. Like, hate to be like that, but like he's definitely gone off the rails a few times in his life. Whether it's, you know,
dude, he married Kim Kardashian.
Yeah, true. Good point.
Enough said. That sums it all up right there about going off the rails, right?
Yeah, true. That is true.
But all right, let's shift our focus back into UFC 272. There's 3 specific fights that I would like to talk about, which would, of course, be the main event, the co-main event, and the Bryce Mitchell Edson Barboza fight.
I actually want to talk about the Kevin Holland one too.
Let's start with that then. Lead us into it with the Kevin Holland welterweight debut against Charles Cowboy Oliveira, which saw Kevin Holland get a second-round TKO after nearly losing the first round. Maybe not, but he didn't do well.
Yeah. Just didn't come off on the right foot for sure.
Dude, Cowboy Oliveira looked really good in the first round.
Yeah. And the only thing I would say is, like, although there was, like, some attempt to, like, really take it to him, I don't think that Kevin Holland was as in danger as we really thought he was. You know what I mean?
At the end of the round when he was in the choke?
Yeah, like, he's over here double thumbs up, like, I don't really give a fuck about this.
It was very hard to tell. However, I'm pretty certain he was aware of the clock as well.
Yeah, that's what
he would have defended completely differently had the clock been not where it was.
Yeah.
He let him take his neck, and it was like thumbs up, and he had to have seen the clock. I mean, the ref was right there
for sure.
They do the 10-second warning.
Yeah.
Then he came out and just fucked him up 6 ways from Sunday in round 2. Man.
Round 2 just fucked him up. So
Kevin Holland can be a force.
I was just gonna say, that kind of begs the question of, like, what's next for him at 170 pounds, because now I feel like he's a serious player.
Yeah, to put Cowboy Oliveira away inside of in that manner so quickly.
Yeah.
Like, I know it was round 2, but I feel like he could have done that in round 1 if he had approached it in that manner.
I hate to be like that because, like, it's not that Cowboy Oliveira isn't talented in that way.
No.
But, like, Kevin Holland pretty much decided when that fight became a fight. Like, he kind of started, like, I don't necessarily think he overlooked him, but, his persona, he's got a little bit of, like, mind games that are, like, people like to say it's like, oh, it's just Kevin's personality. And, yeah, a bit of it is, but I do think it is a game. It's a mind game, too. It's like, you're looking at your opponent, you're like, I'm not taking this serious, bro. I'm going to whoop your fucking ass. Like, I don't need to take it serious. I'm going to laugh at you. I'm going to let you hit me and then tell you, haha, that didn't hurt. Like, you know what I mean?
Kind of like Masvidal does the same shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which we'll get to later. But overall, this is an excellent performance.
Mm-hmm.
And he's definitely, you're right, he's established himself immediately as a force in the welterweight division, which it needs. The welterweight needs some fresh faces.
Oh, yeah.
And I do like that he walked back his call out of Donald Cerrone.
Yeah.
He said in the post fight conference, he's actually, I don't really want to fight Cowboy. Then he said, let's fight Rodriguez next, which is a pretty decent fight. He doesn't have no business fighting Cowboy, so we don't need to see.
Who did he call out after?
What's his name? His last name's Rodriguez. I can't think of his first name right now.
Talking about Daniel.
Daniel Rodriguez.
The one who beat Kevin Holland, right? Is that his name?
The one who beat Kevin Holland? We're talking about Kevin Holland.
No, I know. Or not Kevin Holland. Fucking Kevin Lee.
Yeah.
That's the guy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, exactly. He thought that'd be a good matchup.
But yeah, no, I think that is a good matchup.
Well, let's skip over the co-main event when it comes time.
Yeah.
And save that for last.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then let's talk a little bit about Bryce Mitchell and Edson Barboza, which was going into it. It was by far the toughest test for Bryce Mitchell, who went into the fight, 6-0 UFC, 14-0 overall, but hadn't really faced competition of Edson Barboza's caliber.
Yeah.
And we both, I can't remember if you did, but I picked him to win, but I didn't think he would win in such an incredibly dominant fashion. I mean, he had a 30-24, a 30-25, 30-26, and 30-27 were the scores. Dude, to get a 30-25 in MMA, ridiculous.
It was very reminiscent of what happened to Edson when he fought Khabib. Like, literally, it was like very similar.
Yeah, Thug Nasty, as his nickname is for real. That was not even competitive, and he did decent on the feet as well.
Yeah, surprising.
I mean, he's all about the takedowns, and it wasn't a focus on the feet, but he can punch too.
Yeah,
and he's very strong because Barboza looked a lot bigger than him.
He did, yeah. Going into it, he looked like he had a much larger like physique.
Exactly.
And I don't know.
I thought that was going to be a problem. I didn't realize before the fight started exactly the size difference between the two. And I was like, man, he might have a problem here. You know, Barboza can stay on the outside. He's so much bigger. I don't know if he can get him down. But he did. Oh, you know what? Yeah, there's one other fight I want to talk about too. But anyways, I think it's time next to see a real test at 145.
Yeah, I mean, that was a pretty serious test already to begin with. And then, to see how he was just so easily able to mow him over, I think he deserves maybe someone even like the top 8. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I was thinking top 8, 6, 7, even. I see what you can do, man.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not like he just squeaked out a victory here. Like he's
dominant. Yeah,
like you said, Khabib style. So
yeah,
very interesting prospect here emerging with Bryce Mitchell, and you know we have to point out what he did after the fight as well. Like the man.
Oh yeah.
Apparently, I'm taking a guess here. His contract is 45,000 win, 45,000 show.
Yeah.
And then he said in the post-fight that he was taking his win bonus, $45,000, and donating it to people in his community, the children's hospital in his community, and said some other things about giving back to the people in his area where he's from, which I assume is probably not a very wealthy area. Yeah. Not to sound too judgmental or stereotypical, but I mean, the dude's pretty backwoods. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I think he's from the sticks.
Yeah.
And those tend to be poor communities. So that's really fucking dope that he did that. And then for as much shit as I talk about Dana White, you know, in the post-fight press conference, when the reporters asked Bryce Mitchell about this, he said that Dana White came up to him post-fight and told him to save his money, that he earned it, keep it, and that he would give the $45,000 instead to the children's hospital. And Bryce said he was still going to give some money anyways. Yeah. That's just the type of dude he is. But I thought that was pretty dope because
absolutely,
Bryce Mitchell is not a wealthy man. I don't know much about him, but I can promise you that, dog. And earning $90,000 in a fight is not as much money as some people would think.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like one thing I've watched a lot of his interviews, like with Ariel and shit like that. And like one thing about him too, with his like when he fights, like he doesn't really need. He just talks about. He's like, I don't really need like that like crazy amount of money. I know that's a crazy thing for people to say, but
no, not if
you know what I'm saying.
Culture.
Like
they don't value money the same as like people in the
city. So basically, he just talked about how he had he's got a solid piece of land and he bought like some upgrades for his trailer, like got a pavement and all kinds of shit like that. But other than that, like that's like what is cool for him. That's what he wants to do.
I think it's awesome.
That's awesome.
Like, yeah, fucking kudos to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't mean to make it sound like he's poor. I'm just saying it's one thing when you see a millionaire go give $45,000 to somebody.
Oh yeah.
It's something else when you see a guy who's hasn't fought in like 18 months.
Yeah.
And so this is the first money he's made, giving half of it. You know, he'll still pay tax. It's not like he doesn't pay taxes on another 45.
Yeah.
That motherfucker paying taxes on the 90.
Yep.
His manager gets 90 on the percentage. You know what I mean? Like he's taking a healthy hit to his personal income just to help people out, and that's fucking always dope.
Yeah.
When somebody who's not just sitting on fat stacks and Ferraris in the front is doing it too.
Yeah.
So, cool.
Makes sense.
Let's skip over the RDA versus Moicano fight because I think there's a lot to unpack there outside of the fight.
Yeah.
And let's talk about the main event. I'm not surprised, motherfucker.
Yeah, that's literally what both of us said was going to happen.
Yeah.
Colby just stuck to the game plan, got in there, got out of there.
And, you know, for those of you listening, Colby, you know, and didn't see the results, Colby Covington won a unanimous decision, and it was very lopsided. It was a beatdown.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk about Colby's wrestling, you know, that George couldn't handle it and whatnot. But he also outstruck the hell out of him. I mean, 218 strikes to 90, 6 takedowns to 0. 94 significant strikes to 67. The control time was outrageous. I mean, he had 16 minutes and 14 seconds of control time.
It's over 3 rounds.
In 5 rounds.
No, I'm saying like that's over 3 rounds of control.
Oh, yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. 3 solid rounds of control. I mean, yeah. Colby landed 89% of his shots to the head. Like, that's...
Yeah.
It wasn't his most impressive performance, as he himself said afterwards.
Yeah, I didn't think it was like his most like. It wasn't like what he did to Woodley or Robbie Lawler, but it was like he went in there and got the job done, and that's all he like.
And it wasn't even competitive. I mean,
Yeah,
there was no debating here.
It was
about who
very
won that
eerie of
fight.
the same way that like George was beat by Damian Maya and he was beat by Wonder Boy, and like those are very similar, same paths to victory that those people took before, and that's exactly what Ben Askren was saying he was going to do to him before as well. You know, that everyone kind of
Yeah.
knows that this is like George is kind of Achilles' heel. Like, you know, he's great on his feet sometimes. Like if if you let that guy like get into a rhythm and walk you down, you're fucked. Like, but if you have grappling ability to like take him down, he doesn't like he's good at popping up and stuff like that. But if you're just like kind of relentless with it, like we saw Usman do the same thing. Usman like didn't let George walk him down. He took him to the cage, kept him there, and even when George would try to walk him down, he blasted him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's how he ends up knocking him out. You know what I mean? Like it's you know things like that people have always seen in George's career that because of like the rivalry and all that shit, people kind of chose to overlook that. I
And
feel
because of, and I mean, this is Colby's phrase, and it's a bitter phrase now because the truth hurts sometimes. But George did catch lightning in a bottle. Like he caught this moment where he had some really shining fucking great moments, and he capitalized it. He fucking came back from that reality show. He had fucking some great wins. He beats the shit out of Nate Diaz, knocks out Till, knocks out Askren, turns it into 2 title shots, the whole Street Jesus thing, and then builds the most out of this rivalry with Colby. But at no point did he ever stand a chance of beating Colby Covington because he's not the number 5 ranked welterweight in the world in reality.
See, that's where I don't agree.
He's
with
gone
you.
through 3 complete ass kickings in a row. By
No,
the top
I
tier
see
of the
what you're
division.
saying. The
Like,
top tier of the division, yeah, but
it's time for him to go have fun fights. You ain't getting a sniff of the title.
Yeah, no, I think the title picture's out of the question, but I don't necessarily think he caught like lightning in a bottle because
That's not a derogatory thing. Like
in a way, because
Connor kind of did the same.
Yeah,
shit.
maybe you don't feel like it's that, but that's definitely what
I'm sure
Colby
he
meant.
doesn't like here.
Colby fucking definitely meant it in the most disrespectful way possible.
Sure, I mean,
you know what I mean.
But let's be honest, that Till knockout could have gone either. He wasn't
Yeah,
winning
no,
that
that's
fight
true.
beforehand.
Yeah,
he doesn't knock him out. He probably loses that.
but
fight.
here's the thing: is like mixed martial arts sometimes is catching lightning in a bottle. You know what I mean? And I mean that like there's so many guys that have come and gone throughout the years that like put together. Like I feel like we always talk about how losses don't matter as much in mixed martial arts, right? I think the reason that is because everybody has a chance to catch that lightning in a bottle. That's why I feel like when you say that in mixed martial arts, it's really not that like different than in like someone in boxing who last second stepped in and knocks out the heavyweight champion of the world. Like that's catching lightning in a bottle. I feel like George has put his time in the UFC, and he had been in all these like high level fights up to before he went on his streak. And I just feel like it's a product of the right opponents at the right time, and anybody in the UFC catches.
I guess,
like what I mean. He put his time in. That's why I feel like it's kind of. I know that you don't mean it disrespectfully, but I feel like the way that Colby's saying it is like, oh, George's career is just based on those 3 fights. I don't necessarily believe that because George had like this. He was like kind of like how Eddie Alvarez, like the underground king. That's kind of how George has always been too. Like George has always been like a name that maybe me and you would know, but he became a commercial success inside those 3 fights. You know what I mean? And that's where I feel like the lightning in a bottle thing is like. But his actual fighting and like his talent, I think he's always had that. He just has his up and downs, just like everyone has in mixed martial arts. And if you could really put a good 4-fight streak in any organization in mixed martial arts, you could be a George Masvidal. Is really what I'm trying to say.
Sometimes, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you're promoted the right way and you put together 3-4 fights.
I think Leon Edwards might disagree with you.
But Leon Edwards, the problem with Leon Edwards is they don't promote them correctly. The thing with George is like those big wins he had were devastating knockouts in which he then went on the microphone and called his next fight same way Colby does, same way Usman's done. You know what I mean?
Okay,
Let me
clarify. maybe let's look at, okay, maybe lightning in a bottle makes it sound like it's all luck. I mean, it's a way of saying he took circumstances and made the best of them. Like, what happens
Oh yeah, for sure.
if, for instance, what happens if Ben Askren doesn't go for that takedown to open the fight? Okay.
Yeah.
What happens if Nate Diaz never decides to fucking create a BMF belt?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
What
yeah,
what
true.
happens if, you know, Darren Till slips that punch and the beatdown continues?
Yeah.
Those are all, I mean, he earned all those things. He decided to come out with a flying knee.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, he's had a terrible time with wrestlers. We
Yeah.
just got done talking about it. Ben Askren was maybe going to win that fight
Yeah.
because he's one of the best wrestlers in the world.
Yeah.
Like, he's a better wrestler than Colby, is he not?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like, Colby's definitely a better striker, but that
Yeah,
really doesn't matter
that
because
doesn't
Ben
matter.
Askren just did that weirdo
wrestles.
striking to get on the inside and take you down.
Yeah.
And George would have had a problem with that.
Yeah.
So I guess if not, and I'm not saying he's lucky, he made that happen by deciding to run out with the knee, but also Askren made it happen. He made
Yeah,
it
true.
happen by putting a beat down on Nate Diaz, but Diaz made it happen by fucking saying I'm the baddest motherfucker and I want to fight this guy. He made the most of the situations he was presented with, but they could have gone another way.
Yeah, true.
And I guess you can make that argument. Maybe
I was just gonna say the same. I was just gonna
but
say
it's
you can
different
try to
for
make that
George
argument
because he's
for
got like 50 fucking fights. He's
Yeah, true.
37 years old. He wasn't on anybody's radar prior to the set of circumstances as like the next champ or nothing.
Yeah.
Nobody was like, let's give Masvidal a title shot before these things happened. So I don't mean it as a diss. I'm saying these things happened, and this dude definitely put in the work. He earned them,
Yeah.
but he took advantage of the fortuitous circumstances as well. He put himself in a position like he gets a flying knockout against Askren, the flying knee, because he came out with it.
Yeah.
But he also gets it because Askren's a dumbass in that
Yeah,
move.
yeah.
I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
No, I get what you're
So I
saying.
don't mean it as a diss. He earned it, but he also got kind of lucky at the same time, which is a thing that you need sometimes to have these breakouts. You could say the same thing about Connor.
Yeah.
Okay, but
well, here's the thing, is where I kind of feel. I'm not saying we're hypocritical, but what I'm saying is when we had Jesus Christ. But that same point kind of doesn't make sense to me because what is one thing on this podcast we constantly talk about is how the UFC doesn't properly promote their fighters. And what happens when they do properly promote their fighters, they turn into people like George Masvidal and Colby Covington.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's like I can't fault him for taking advantage of
there's no fault here.
No. I'm not saying fault, but you know what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
like I can't. I still can't. Yeah, it's not working.
Like the counterclockwise.
Yeah.
The whole thing like this.
Oh.
I think he is a good fighter, and I'm glad he's got a big contract if that's true. And I hope that he gets fun fights from here on out. But
yeah. I just don't think that those 3 fights will be like the end all be all of his career. Like I do think when you look back on him, a lot of like, yeah, those are a big part of it. But like also like his win over Donald Cerrone was really big. Like he knocked out Eve Edwards when he was a generally unknown. He like his old like the Kimbo Slice days. You know what I mean? Like I don't think this whole like 3 fight run totally defines who he is as a fighter.
You're not wrong, but he made so much out of he made so much out of the Colby Covington rivalry because he's the one that really publicly escalated it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then yes, Colby ran with it after that, but this was basically instigated by Masvidal in social media with the coach thing, and then in interviews we started saying that Colby stole money from his coach.
Yeah.
And then it really went south. And it had so much buildup, and then kind of the problem here is that when that happens and you talk that much shit, you kind of have to back it up. And unfortunately for him, he backed it up in no way, shape, or form. He gets his ass kicked 6 ways from Sunday, all right? And then he's talking about in the post-fight conference, like, I'm going to fucking break his jaw on site. And everybody's kind of laughing at that because, like, dude, you were just locked in the cage for 25 minutes with this motherfucker. You better hope Colby don't see you in the street and you try to break his jaw because he'll take you down on the pavement and dribble your head off of it, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, this is silly at this point. So that doesn't help his legacy when you have, because then everybody, what do they remember? The big thing that made all the noise was the Colby fight when he got creamed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as an MMA fan, does it hurt his legacy to me personally? Nah, dude. I know what George Masvidal's done. He's a bad motherfucker. And I love him. I'm a fan. It might sound like I'm not. But just as the general public, like when they think about him now, it's going to be kind of like Ben Askren, bro.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know, because I don't really, like...
Not as bad as Ben, but the
yeah,
MMA
I don't
equivalent
think it's
of
bad.
like, well, when it came time to put the mouth to the thing, you know, your big draw, quote unquote, as the public, are people really going to... MMA fans are.
Here's
General
the thing.
public really going to buy into this Masvidal pay-per-view?
Yeah, I see what you're saying with that. I'm just saying, I think that the Usman loss hurts more than this loss, like, to his, like, stock and to his, like, legacy and everything like that. Like, getting fucking flatlined by Usman like that was a lot more damaging than what happened on Saturday.
That was bad. But I don't think there was the
weird
public eye on that Usman fight as much as the
true.
Colby fight, because the general public
we'll
had already
see.
seen
We'll
it.
see when the numbers come out, but at the same time, like, it was dominant. It was a dominant win by Colby, but Masvidal almost pulled the Diaz on Colby because he got a little sloppy for a second.
I mean, he rocked him, yeah. I mean, he had that one moment, but he just stood there and looked at him because he was tired as fuck.
Yeah, it was weird, dude. Like,
he was tired, bro.
Both of them, though, I've always seen them have great cardio. Both of them looked fucking gassed at the end of that fight. Even Colby. Like, Colby's known for his great cardio, but, like, you could see in the fourth and fifth round that he was, I think the emotion has a lot to do with it, too, yeah. Like, that adrenaline dump.
Those two dudes. They were literally good friends. I mean, there's tape. I mean, you could see them hanging out, bro. Those were boys. That's why they were so drained.
Yeah, both of them going into the fourth and fifth were like fucking zombies. Like, their punches were very sloppy. Like, the punch that he hit Colby with that rocked him was sloppy as fuck by Colby. He literally was like, hands were like out to both the sides of his head, like, but he wasn't throwing punches. It was weird. Like, it made chin was way up in the air. If that happens in the first round, I think he could have like that. But that's sometimes what happens with Colby's. That's exactly what happened with Usman. You know, sometimes Colby's striking gets a little sloppy, and like, I mean, he fucking dominated him. But that's like the only real bright spot.
Yeah, I mean, but look at his total strikes thrown here, and then you start to understand why he threw 338 strikes. I mean, more than double the output of.
That was funny because the people I was watching the fight with, they're all like watching Colby like hit him with all these shots, like, oh, he's gonna knock him out. I was like, you guys obviously have never watched Colby Covington fight. I was like, dude, he's not putting any power behind any of these. He's just popping. He's scoring. Yeah. This is an attrition game. Game of attrition. You know what I mean? He's gonna play the long term thing. He's not going out here trying to knock George out. As much as the build up and everything is like, I'm gonna end you and blah 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 blah. I was like, but you're really not. You know, you're gonna end his ascend to the top. But neither of you guys, like, were going to really fuck each other up because, like, Colby's had a pretty solid chin over the years. Like, I didn't really see a situation where he was going to get knocked out cold. Like, I thought if he was going to lose, it would be like a TKO, like a flash KO. But, like, generally speaking, like, that was what was supposed to happen on Saturday. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
no, that's what we both said. That's what
Superman
the Vegas
versus
line
Kryptonite
said. I mean,
like.
And again, I love Masvidal. I'd like to see something good for him next. I don't know what that is. I hear talk about the Conor fight. That's not happening. I promise you, that ain't gonna happen.
Yeah,
I already know what's
I could see him and Nate running it back again.
Yeah, he might try that. Nate, I don't know if Nate wants to come back for that as his final fight. I mean, Nate's still harping on I'm out of the UFC with my last contract, and I think he's for real. I think Nate Diaz sees these ass clowns making money. Okay.
Yeah.
Nate Diaz sees all the ass clown money and is like, I want to taste this.
Yeah.
And he can get a fight with one of the Paul brothers in a fucking heartbeat if he's not under a UFC contract, and he'll whoop their fucking ass.
Yeah.
And cash in big.
Yeah.
And I think he's dead serious about fighting out his contract, despite Dana saying after the Masvidal Covington fight that the chances were very good that he was going to sign a new contract.
Well, you know what you know what it is too. I think a big part of what has stopped a lot of these negotiations with Nate and going into this Poirier fight is that exactly. I think that the UFC is trying to get Nate to sign this deal and sign, like, they always do that. Like remember that was a big thing when Connor fought Cowboy. Everyone was talking going into that fight. Oh, Connor's got 2 fights left on his UFC deal, and then what happens? He fights Cowboy and fucking signs a 9-fight deal. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and so I just feel like that's what they're attempting to do with Nate here. They're being like, yeah, this is the last fight on your contract, but maybe we'll bump your pay up a little bit for this fight, and you sign a 4-fight deal. Like they're notorious for doing shit like that.
Absolutely. And I don't think this is it for Nate in the UFC. I would be fucking shocked if he signs another UFC deal, bro.
Wouldn't make any
Are
sense.
you kidding? I don't see it. I think Francis would resign before Diaz.
Yeah.
It just the question is how long does it get drug out with his final fight?
Mm-hmm.
But shifting back to these guys, that's what George has got to do something in this realm.
Yeah.
And he needs to find one he can win. As far as Colby, Colby's unfortunately near Joseph Benavidez' status in the division.
Yes.
Having lost multiple times to the champion, yet being clearly the second best in the division right now.
Yeah.
And you don't want to keep him there just knocking off fucking contenders, which is why I actually love his post-fight call-out. I saw some haters giving him flack. They're like, "Why are you calling out a lightweight, not Usman?" Like, dude, he's not sniffing Usman for a hot minute, bro.
Yeah, even if he wants Usman next, he's not gonna get it.
No, and if he goes to knocking off contenders, he's got to knock out a bunch. The best he can do is hope somebody knocks out Usman, and then he can step in again, like Benavidez did when DJ bounced.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Unfortunately for Benavidez, he lost those times, but that was the only way he snuck back into a title shot, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I love his call out of Dustin Poirier, and for these people saying that he's calling out somebody smaller, I'd like to point out for the record that Dustin Poirier walks around at 192 pounds by his own admission, which is bigger than Colby Covington's walking around weight. So he's not a bigger or a smaller man. He fights in a smaller division.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
I just don't like that fight because it's literally the same fight you're fighting right now. Like, I think George and him and
he'll fucking smear Dustin.
Yeah,
I'm
he's just
sorry,
gonna take him down and do the same thing.
Yeah, I like Dustin
But
Poirier
I
too,
do
but
think
he ain't beating.
I do think when you're talking Dustin Poirier, there's a much better chance Dustin Poirier does something on the feet than George Masvidal did. I mean, not saying George Masvidal is not elite, like as far as his power and abilities, but like,
I mean,
Poirier's striking is a much different game,
and he's top tier right now.
Yeah, Poirier. And he's more like Colby too, where like there's a lot of like, yeah, Poirier throws bombs, but he throws bombs in the right times. Like he's another one of the guys that like scores on you with his jabs and in his straights, but then he throws the big punches from around those. So like these stats that we see here in this George and Colby fight, I don't think would mirror the same if Colby entertained staying on the feet with Dustin Poirier.
No, I think that it's a much more winnable fight for Poirier than it was for Masvidal, but I think it's a very winnable fight for Colby Covington. But the reason I like it mainly it goes back to the shit talking, because Dustin Poirier goes out in public and is like, when I see him in public, I'm fighting him. Former teammates against Dylan. He's like, brings it to social media and to the airwaves and says, if I see you in the parking lot, we're throwing down. I just think that makes it interesting. Well, let's see it then. Colby ain't got nothing going on. He ain't going near a title shot. Dustin ain't.
And obviously Colby wants it because Colby's now started a whole new like shit talk about his wife too, and I'm like,
and look at Dustin. What's he gonna do? His only option is Diaz, and that's just not happening because the UFC don't want it to.
Connor for
no, they're not doing that. I promise you, they're not doing that. No, not right now. Connor's getting a title shot, but we'll get to that shit.
Yeah, jeez.
What was that? Dustin's not getting another title shot in the UFC at lightweight for a minute.
Yeah.
At least not. I'm not saying not ever.
Not ever.
Right now.
Yeah, just not right now. Yeah.
So why not?
Same thing Colby's at. Like he could.
It doesn't even hurt either guy if they lose. So what if Dustin goes up to 170 and loses to Colby? Okay, so what? He could still go back to 155 if he wants to. The title picture could change. But
what do you do if Dustin Poirier beats Colby Covington?
Well, Poirier was already talking about going to welterweight anyways. I mean, that's another reason it makes sense. Is after he lost Oliveira, he's like, I might think about moving up to welterweight.
Yeah.
Well, shit. Now you got a shot at the number 2. You could walk right into the number 2 welterweight, dog. Like if he beats Colby,
he's number 1.
Or I meant because I think of the champ as number 1.
Oh, okay.
But yeah. So.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, it'd be a good like career move if Dustin Poirier was like really thinking about going to 170, but it couldn't be a situation where Dustin Poirier moved up to 170 for one fight and didn't, you know, choose to actually try to carry that weight. Kind of like, you know what I'm saying? We've seen it countless times.
Mm-hmm.
There's a right way and a wrong way to move up the weight class, and with it being such a like heated rivalry similar to the George fight, I would just hope that Dustin isn't, you know, going to be like, yeah, I'm going to stay at like be around that, 65, range, and then kind of go in light would not be the like right thing to do, or to go in too heavy because you're not taking it like serious enough. And I just feel like
He's shorter than
yeah.
Colby, but he's a lot thicker.
And I think the leg kicks would be an interesting thing as well in that fight.
We'll see what happens. It's interesting.
I actually like that fight a lot more when I actually think about it.
I think it's a good fight. I like the storyline.
I think it's better than the George fight, like stylistically.
Dude, we live in a sport. We're focused here in a sport where actually, if you tell someone and you're serious, like, fuck you, if I see you, I'm gonna kick your ass, and you're not trying to sell fights.
Yeah.
You're like, I got a legit beef with you. Dude, you guys can like go settle it and get paid.
Yeah.
Like, you can get paid, and you can get locked in a cage for 5 rounds to fuck your enemy up, so to speak. You should. I love it. You should do it. Let's get it going.
So, with that being said, though, one thing I do want to touch on a bit that was going on through the week was the whole Colby Covington talking about he didn't get his pay-per-view points and shit like that. If he were to set up a Dustin Poirier fight, he needs to get his fucking money, dude. That was so dumb of him just to take that fight on his normal contract when every fighter in the world would have renegotiated in that situation, dude. Come on,
maybe he's trying to get out too. Some of these fighters are just trying to clear their fights out.
He could be
possible,
but you know what I'm saying.
He's had
like
friction
that
with the UFC in the past.
Yeah,
and now maybe he has goodwill with the UFC for being easy to work with on a big fight.
Did you see the pre-fight press conference when they asked Dana about that, and he just deflected the question completely? They were like, "What did they say?" He's like, "Yeah, Hunter Campbell told me that, or whoever at the time said that they were going to cut me," and he was like, "Yeah, I don't know anything about that." It's like, oh wow, okay, Dana.
Well, let's round out UFC 272 with a discussion about the co-main event now, which saw Rafael dos Anjos in what was supposed to be his return to lightweight, but winds up being a catchweight bout at 160 against a 4-day late notice replacement, Renato Moicano.
Yeah.
Or Renato.
Yeah.
I always want to say the R's. Not trying to be disrespectful.
But two guys who have spent most of their careers inside the UFC, and it's not that I think this was like a too much kind of thing for Moicano, because I do think in the early rounds.
Let's get the results real quick. It was a 5-round decision for
sure was.
dos Anjos, and that doesn't really describe it accurately.
It was bad.
Before we get to what I feel is great controversy, let's just talk about it was a good performance by dos Anjos.
Yeah, it was very technical. And that's the thing that kind of pissed me off about it, though. It was very technical, but he obviously very well stepped off the gas.
He clearly stepped off the gas in the third.
Yeah.
The stats aren't real accurate when it comes to the 5th round, but overall, I mean, he lands 179 strikes. RDA does to 99 from Moicano. 149 significant strikes.
Yeah,
that's to 88. He got 5 takedowns. He had 13 minutes of control time. And
that was the most impressive thing to me, was the amount of his ability to control and keep Moicano on the bottom, because that's one thing is Moicano's always he's got high level jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a couple times where he kind of tried to threaten different submissions, and RDA kind of just shook him off.
Yeah, over a period of 13 minutes.
Yeah.
And here's a stat that will come into where this conversation is going, but 79% of dos Anjos strikes were to the head.
Yeah.
All right. 56 landed by distance, 56%. So some in the ground and pound as well, but over half were, standing strikes from the outside. Anything else you want to say before we dive into the real topic of this fight? I mean, it's a good performance by RDA, and what we're about to say takes nothing away from that. This shit ain't his fault.
Yeah.
But you mentioned he took off the gas off in the fifth round. Yeah, that's because he was just murdering this motherfucker, man.
Yeah.
This fight should have been stopped. In the round 3, do you agree?
Yeah, at the beginning of round 4, basically.
Yeah, in between rounds, it shouldn't have gone on at best.
Well, and I do think there's 2 parts of this as far as like where the blame lies, because like
the doctor comes in before round 4
twice.
right? Twice. Yeah, in round 3, round
when
4.
When do you ever see the doctor come in twice and not stop a fight? Like,
and he gives him the eye, like the follow my finger eye test, right?
And he actually did pass that though. I was watching; he was following completely.
He was following, but I mean,
the second time though, come on, if you're called in for a second time, they're looking for a reason to stop it. And then the whole thing with Mark Goddard also saying to him going into round 5, I'm giving you 30 seconds to show me something or I'm stopping the fight. If you have to give someone 30 seconds to show you something or you're stopping the fight is already over.
And he didn't do that anyways.
Well, actually, that's the thing, though. It was like the 30. That's what I was talking about. About like
it was a
stepping off the gas.
Is where this controversy comes in. The controversy is that somebody should have stopped this fight.
Someone had to.
I'm arguing, from my opinion, that his corner are the people that should have stopped this fight. And I am frankly gotten to the point, Paul, I am sick of the fucking buzzwords after we see this shit happen. Because we see this happen where a fight should be stopped. And this dude's getting fucking murdered. And he has nothing to gain here. What's he got to gain? It's a short notice, 4-day fight. He's dehydrated from a fucking weight cut. Even though it was at 160, you still cut weight, dog.
Yeah.
And he has no chance of winning. He has nothing to gain by the extra 2 rounds that it's going.
Yeah.
Like, and his corner is just letting him take all these blows. And then afterwards, we hear all this shit. Oh, such heart. What a warrior. I'm sorry, but fuck you. That's an empty fucking platitude to a guy that we just saw in rounds 4. He took 22 shots, and in round 5, he took 38 shots, and we already know that 80% of those were to the head.
Yeah.
So he takes 52 fucking blows extra to the head. For what? Did we all think he was a pussy?
Yeah, no.
Oh, now we know he's a warrior?
Yeah. No,
now we know he has heart. He didn't show it by being an MMA fighter and getting paid to get locked into a cage and fight another trained fighter with his bare hands. Yeah. That doesn't show he has heart. No, it's the fact that he took fucking 55 or 52 extra blows to his fucking dome.
Yeah.
That shows he has heart. And I'm not blaming the fighter. He's a fucking fighter. He's not going to give up, dude. If it was in the streets, he'd be fucking killed. I mean, that's the mentality. The people that are responsible are first the corner, then the ref, and the doctors.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think the betrayal falls with the corner because that's your guy. They know, like, his career. They know what he takes in the gym.
Yeah.
They know the dangers. Why do you think in boxing so many fucking times they throw in a towel? The trainers do. Why do they do this? Boxing's been around a goddamn 100 and something fucking years. Because these people know. These are people that work with fighters in and out.
There's a shelf life to this game, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the point of him showing he's a warrior? What? How many blows?
Especially at this point in his career too, where he just started off in a new weight class, and he's like, you know, he's kind of, you know, he's in his prime, so it's like, you know, that beatdown is just not necessary. Is what it really boils down to. You know, it's just not a necessary thing that ever has to happen to somebody.
And the second time the ref came in, he walks right up to Goddard and says, "It's up to you whether it goes on or not."
Yeah.
And I mean,
like, well,
and that's where the next fault lies. Is Goddard is in there too? How many blows do you got to see, you motherfucker?
Yeah, true. But that's the thing, though. Here's where I agree with you 100%. But I could see like some of the bit of like he's a warrior. A lot of like the he's a warrior type thing too is like, although he was like handily losing the fight. Anytime there was any kind of finishing sequence or things were gonna like head in that direction, he showed that he didn't want to get out of there. You know,
no, I'm not. This has nothing to do with him. That dude's all heart. They're right. He's a warrior. He's all heart. Great. When you say that, do you send him an extra $10 to pay for his future medical care?
Yeah.
Or what? Because I'm not. I mean, I'm not dissing the fighter, dude. He's doing his duty. That's why we have refs in the fucking cage.
Yeah, true.
That's why we have doctors there, because if we didn't have these people, these dudes would just maul each other to death, bro.
Yeah, true.
I mean,
Yeah.
even goddamn underground fighting typically has got somebody in there to make sure they don't kill each other.
Yeah.
George Masvidal in the backyard fights. There's a dude there breaking them up.
Yeah.
For fuck's sake, why? Why are they there? Because
Yeah,
they won't
true.
stop. They're fucking fighters.
Yeah.
They're not wired like your average person. So I'm not dissing him. I'm dissing the people that are supposed to protect him, because I'm tired of seeing it, man.
Yeah, no,
this is 2022. We know this shit fucks your brain up now. It's not like, gee, is Muhammad Ali fucked up from the boxing? We're not really sure, you know?
Yeah.
Like, no, we know now.
Yeah.
We're fucking well aware.
Uh-huh.
So, and I just sound passionate. I mean, I used to fucking box, dude. I've been in the gym. I know how motherfuckers don't take it easy in the fucking gym. I'm sorry.
No,
Everybody
no.
says they do. They don't. And if you're wearing headgear, it's really not that big of an improvement. You think a fucking inch of foam around the outside of your fucking head is stopping that much?
No.
And the 18-ounce gloves, oh, whoop-de fucking woo.
Yeah.
We're trained fighters going pretty fucking hard, man.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, I'm tired of it. I'm sick of seeing these guys get hurt for no fucking money. What the fuck money did he get paid for that? 50 grand? 60? 100 if he's lucky?
Yeah. It's crazy.
So, and what did he earn? Did he earn more money than extra 2 rounds? Did the UFC be like, if you make it to 5 rounds, we'll double your pay?
Yeah, no.
No.
That's where I didn't understand things, is why was that a 5-round fight?
Because RDA wanted it.
Why?
That's what he said in the press conference, at least, because he was already training for a 5-round fight, so that's what he wanted to do.
But why was even him and
Help him get the
Rafael
ring rust off.
Yeah, but
Off.
why was him and Rafael Fiziev a 5-round fight?
They had something pre-scheduled that was like a main event.
They were the main event of a car.
It was rescheduled.
I was like, it just didn't make any sense to me. You know what I mean?
And Dos Anjos wanted the fucking rounds because he's been out of action for a minute, especially at that weight class. So not his fault either. It's just there's a failure in the system when we see fighters just get beat up like this. Like, how many fucking blows do these guys have to take?
Yeah,
and they don't have health insurance. This isn't like Wilder Fury where they're getting paid millions of dollars. So you can be like, well, dude, he's getting paid millions. He can afford health care. Like, not, bro.
Yeah.
Look at Stephan Bonner running around our city.
Yeah.
This poor motherfucker. Like, he's all jacked up. Like, people don't know. They ain't getting him on Ariel Helwani telling everybody his day-to-day life. No, we're talking about what a warrior Moicano is. I'm over it, man.
Yeah, I mean, that fight should have definitely been stopped.
People should have stepped the fuck up.
Yeah.
And stopped fights. And corners should throw the towel in. There's no shame. I don't get this. Boxers do it all the fucking time.
Yeah.
No one is like, oh, they threw in the towel, bunch of pussies.
Yeah.
Oh, dude,
there's a certain level to where a fight. There's a certain point in which every fight, when someone is getting dominated, there's a point where there's no longer an opportunity in which your ability to win the fight is at its peak, and you need your peak to win the fight. You know what I mean? When you're outmatched like that, you need your peak performance to win a fight like that. And when you're already diminished to a certain level, there's nothing wrong with throwing.
Well, this isn't the world championship. This isn't the peak of your career. This isn't, you haven't been working your whole life to get here, so your corner's going to give you every chance to win the fucking title. Yeah. This is a 4-day short notice replacement fight.
Yeah.
With no title implications for you, nothing. I already knew that dude was a stud, and now I just feel bad for him. Like, damn, your people let you down. And and they let him keep the delusion, just like I didn't agree with Deontay Wilder's like getting so mad at the towel getting thrown in the second Fury fight. Yeah. Firing his coach over it and stuff. Dude, it's ridiculous. But I mean, I could just keep ranting, but my point is made.
No, I get what you're saying. And that's the problem in mixed martial arts, is there needs to be more coaches that are willing to throw in the towel.
We saw it, was it a week ago? I can't remember the fight. And the ref stopped it like at the exact same time. But I mean, I saw a towel coming in right as the ref was waving it off. And I was like, thank God somebody's actually did that.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember offhand what fight it was, but it shouldn't be a rarity. For goodness sakes, man.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I just want to brighten everyone's day real quick and talk about how how Hardy just got completely steamrolled.
That was the other fight I want to talk about. Yes, sir.
Greg Hardy just got fucking whooped.
Sergey Spivak.
Just whooped his ass.
And I was a little concerned when that fight started. Did you see it? Did you see how big Greg Hardy was compared to Spivak?
Dude, he said he was walking around at 300 pounds before this fight.
Yeah, he had to cut.
Yeah.
They said he cut like 20 pounds to get to 265.
Yeah, makes sense. He used to be that big when he was in the NFL.
Then you see in the post-fight interview, you see Spivak standing next to Joe Rogan, and you're like,
Yeah.
holy shit, that dude is huge. And he
Yeah.
looked like nothing compared to Hardy.
Uh-huh.
I was so impressed when he was fucking throwing him to the ground like that. I was like, holy shit, dude, that's a big man.
Did you see when he KO'd him, that when Hardy woke up, he didn't realize what was going on.
Yeah.
He started like flinching at the ref.
Yeah. Oh, man, I loved it. I was so happy. And that was the last fight of his contract and his third loss by TKO. I think the Greg Hardy experiment is over.
I don't want it to be, just so I can see him get knocked out.
Oh. Dude, look, if I put my hate for his personal actions aside, and I'm not talking shit, dude, he didn't have business being in the UFC yet. And if he's going to continue his fighting career, he needs to go down to like
Bellator,
PFL. Legacy, some more.
I think he could win
PFL
probably.
maybe.
I mean, I wouldn't really want to see it, but I wouldn't
He's
want to see
not a good fighter.
He's got power though. He has like raw, natural athleticism that like.
He's a huge man.
Yeah, well, I do think there's something to be said when like an athlete from like a lot of these football athletes that come into mixed martial arts, it's football is such an explosion type sport that like hairpin like turn of like striking and the fast twitch shit.
Fast twitch muscles,
Yeah. That stuff just comes so natural to them that we do see a lot of these guys who come from, like Eric Anders and shit like that, people like that come in and they carry so much power, not because they're like super powerful punchers, but because they're quick and their ability to explode is at such a high level that it closes the gap sometimes when they're not technically sound. But that can only get you so far, and I really feel like that's the part of where Greg Hardy's career is. Like he probably could go somewhere else, like a Bellator or like a PFL or and probably do pretty freaking well. Not because he's extremely talented all around, but because
I don't know if people understand how big he is. Like he's not that tall.
Yeah,
he's ridiculously
he's a tank.
thick.
Yeah.
Like
he's a tank for sure. Which makes it even worse what he did.
I could not believe he got thrown around like that. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
I was like, you're gonna hurt your back, son. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Because like the way he was throwing him wasn't just like he did a double leg and took him down. He was like picking him up and just like whipping him around.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what it's called. I can't think of the wrestling terminology or the throw term for it. But he didn't just do a double.
It was just like a mat return, but it was like like with high velocity. You know what I mean? Like like they all were just high velocity throws, and those demoralize people sometimes.
Especially when you're 300 pounds.
Yeah.
Like
it just shows how
he's not
strong
a fat man. There's no
is.
like Greg Hardy's not fat. Like
no, he's pretty.
Like he's very in shape.
Yeah,
and he's just so.
He's not Francis Ngannou, but he's not.
But he's thicker than Ngannou.
Yeah.
Like I mean, he's got like 40 pounds on Francis Ngannou. Think about that for a minute.
Yeah, it's true.
And it's not like it's not like he's 7 feet tall here.
Yeah,
and he's not fat. He's a specimen.
Yeah,
but I'm glad it's over, man.
I don't necessarily know if it is though.
Well, I mean, in the UFC, Dana ain't resigning it. He already fucking said it's like, yeah.
He did say it.
Yeah, they brought it up at the press conference. He's like, I'm pretty sure his contract's done. Yeah.
Oh.
Because the reporter asked him, they were like, "Is this Greg Hardy experiment over?" And then he like asked if his contract was done, and he was just like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure his contract's over." But you don't sound like he's real intent on re-signing this motherfucker.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I've seen Dana White say that before and then turn around and re-sign people at the same time.
Yeah, Dana White's a liar for a lot of what he says. I mean, usually you can kind of base things on the opposite. Like if he says Nate Diaz is close to signing the contract, that means he's nowhere near signing Nate Diaz.
Yeah.
But sometimes he does tell the truth, which just fucks up the game. But he's a promoter. It's kind of his job.
Yeah, true.
I mean, let's be honest here. He's not just like a psychopath. like it's his job. it's not his job to sit here and just tell us what's going on. It's his job to promote shit and spin
True.
and take public stances that cause pressure on his athletes in order to force them into signing agreements. I don't like it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of his job.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So yeah, I think that about rounds out UFC 272. Pretty solid night of fights. $75 is a little hefty price, but overall, I think it was a pretty good event.
Yeah, I agree with all that. Let's talk about the upcoming on March 12th BKFC New York #2 fight card. You can see on BKTV app. You want to hit this? You're good. Dude, we've got some good fights here. And we've got Connor Tierney making his debut. I'm pretty excited about this one. You know, before we dive into this card, I keep thinking, because I am such a huge fan of BKFC, I keep thinking about this Triller thing because I have such mixed emotions about it because I don't like Triller. I mean,
Yeah.
We've both taken pretty public stances of being like, fuck Triller.
Yeah. I think we literally said that.
Yeah. But I'm hoping, I have hope that perhaps Triller has come to the realization that they're not really good at doing this whole fight game thing. Because you notice they canceled their triangle combat thing, and it doesn't make any sense for them to start it up now that
It's
they
a
own
triad.
yeah. Okay. So maybe they've realized, and their boxing thing was disastrous. That Lopez fucking fight was disastrous.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So maybe, from what Feldman says, you know, the promoter for BKFC says there's a hands-off deal. They're just providing capital and the shit and access to things that we can't get because we don't have this kind of money.
I would hope.
And maybe they'll just give them cash and give them a boost in promoting, you know what I mean, off their platforms.
Yeah.
And not try to run their shit.
I hope.
And that would be great for BKFC if that's true.
Yeah.
Because then it's just, it is what it is.
Or we start getting celebrities fighting people bare knuckle, weird, crazy, stupid fights that ruin the allure and the,
I don't want
the
concerts in the
credibility
middle of the BKFC event,
yeah.
bro.
That's what I'm worried about. Is I feel like BKFC has done such a good job at keeping it not a sideshow. You know what I mean? Like
are pretty tight.
their event, yeah, you know what I mean. Like that's why I think Triller's overall problem with how they promote their fights is they promote them like they're a sideshow. You know,
that Holyfield fight was no one. That was a train wreck.
Yeah,
that was a crime against fucking Holyfield.
Yeah, true.
Whatever they paid him, it wasn't enough.
No.
So like they can't. That's
Mike
why
was
we're
so
saying
mad
here they
about
can't
that.
do this. Like people, maybe you, if you're on the outside, like well, they seem successful. No, they're doing terrible things in the sport of combat.
Well, that's the problem though. Is like, yeah, they are, but at the same time, they have so much capital from like being brought up as a different like platform before they became a fight promotion that like when those things tank like that, it's really not that big a deal to them.
No, they still have excess capital apparently to fuck around with. So maybe this will work out well. Is my hope.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Let's shift into this next big BKFC event. And again, we don't get paid here for this, but seriously, folks, it's $5 a month for BKFC.
Yeah.
Just you can download the app.
You can watch
sign
every
up,
fight they've ever had.
Watch it on your TV, your phone, fucking wherever. It's literally the best deal in combat sports.
Yeah.
Like every event I watch, I've never been like, well, that was a waste of my fucking entertainment time and money.
Yeah.
Never. Not one fucking time.
Yeah.
And they only get better.
Yeah.
So anyways, interim bantamweight championship, Anthony Rectic versus Jarrod Grant. Bedford is out, injured, I'm assuming. Do you know any details on Johnny Bedford? I couldn't find any online about why they're creating an interim title here. But
no, I don't know.
So, well, it is what it is. Jarrod Grant is 4-0 with 3 KOs. This is all BKFC. He's a very hot prospect. Anthony Rectic is a short notice replacement fighter. He's coming in, but this is his second BKFC fight. He's 1-0. But there's an interesting size difference here. I mean, this is 135 pounds.
Yeah.
All right. So, and Jarrod Grant's 5'6", which is about what you would expect. Rectic is 6 feet tall. So he's got a 79-inch reach.
Damn.
Yeah. That puts an interesting dynamic on it with the winner, going to be getting a crack at Johnny Bedford.
Yeah.
So if Jarrod Grant can get on the inside there's a strong chance he might get a knockout here. But how good? I mean, I'd imagine if you're fighting at 135 and you're 6 feet tall, you're pretty used to fighting on the outside and keeping guys from slipping in. I mean,
Yeah,
right?
that would make a lot of sense.
So I guess that's the dynamic at play though here.
Yeah.
Can the taller fighter, can Anthony keep Jarrod at bay on the outside, inside such a small, the squared circle as they call it?
Yeah.
Especially when you start so close together.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Towing the
another
line.
thing this is another reason I like it, is instead of like in boxing where you start off in your corners and there can be a feeling out process.
Yeah.
Sometimes there is in BKFC, but you're like 2 feet away to start. So
well, and like they promote like that constant action throughout like their fights. You know what I mean?
That's the 2-minute rounds are ideal for it. Five 2-minute rounds. So that's an interesting fight, I think, just on the dynamics of size alone. Plus, we've got the interim title. And I'm just going to give BKFC the benefit of the doubt and assume that they're not like the UFC. They're a very young organization. I'm assuming if they've created an interim title, it's for a legitimate purpose here.
Yeah.
And not like a gimmick
like
the UFC does. So
that makes sense.
My prediction here is a KO Jarrod Grant round 4. I'm seeing it coming.
Yeah, I tend to always lean on the side of people who have more experience inside the bare knuckle, like squared circle, just because there's a different like vibe to it that I feel like if you're not like well equipped inside, as far as like fighting high level opponents in there, it could go bad quick.
Yeah, it's easy to get overwhelmed if you're not used to that environment.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's just a harder thing to spar for, you know, like we discussed that here with Connor Tierney, who's fighting in the co-main event, but you know the sparring aspect of it, because you can't spar with no gloves on.
Yeah.
But there's a big difference when you're fighting with no gloves on.
100%.
So you have to train yourself to not use them as defense when you're in the gym, even though in boxing you're supposed to use them as defense, because your fists up by your face as defense are not the same fucking thing.
I would almost think like like training with MMA gloves makes better sense than than using boxing gloves, because that's really going to give you the closer,
I would think so too.
Yeah.
And I've heard a lot of these guys, and I think Connor mentions this as well. They do a lot of their pad work and bag work with no gloves on.
Yeah.
In order to condition their hands.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Which is something you just rarely do in boxing, and I don't know why you would in MMA either.
Yeah.
But for bare knuckle, it
makes all the sense in the world.
Absolutely. So Connor's finally making his UFC debut. I mean, he is 5-1. And he comes in as the British bare knuckle champion.
Yeah.
Oh, this is his BKFC debut.
Yeah.
What did I say?
He said UFC.
UFC. I meant USA.
Yeah.
It just came out UFC. But this is his first fight in the USA for the bare knuckle fighting championship. And he's fighting a guy named Jeremiah Riggs, which is a replacement fighter.
Yeah.
He was fighting Jim Allers prior, which was a hell of a matchup right there.
Yeah.
Jim Allers is from mixed martial arts, but has proven to be very adept at bare knuckle. Always an action fighter. Do you know what happened to him, Paul?
No idea.
Neither do I. But I assume it's some sort of injury. Hopefully he recovers all right. But in steps Jeremiah Riggs, who's 1-0 in bare knuckle. He's 39 years old. He's 6 feet tall. This is at 165 pounds. Well, at least for Connor. We're not so sure about Riggs, though.
Yeah, it says Riggs normally fights like 180 pounds. So
185.
Yeah.
And isn't he from wrestling or something?
Yeah, he's from. I guess he did some time in pro wrestling or something like that.
Okay.
But when I first saw the thing, it said Tierney versus Riggs. I was like, dude, no way, he's fighting Joe Riggs.
I know. I saw that. Yeah. I was shocked
shit.
too. I'm like, oh my god, Joe Riggs is very large.
Yeah.
Like Connor is 6 feet tall.
But honestly, this guy's pretty large too. This Jeremiah Riggs.
Yeah, he's not that much smaller than Diesel, apparently.
So I do think.
But Connor is taller. Connor's, he's 6 foot 2,
too.
but
yeah,
he's fighting at 65 here.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is a catch weight bout or what. I guess we'll find out on Saturday as to how that goes down, or if Riggs is going to have to cut.
Yeah, I would hope.
Unfortunately, we're about to put our interview with Connor here in because it just fits in nice with the show. But this was from a prior episode.
Yeah.
So that's why we don't talk about this particular fight. At the time, we were unsure of when his U.S. debut would be. But we are looking to have Connor come back on the show. But before we cut to him, what's your prediction for this co-main event here with Tierney and Riggs?
I'd say he wins by decision.
Yeah, I'm seeing a decision as well, mainly due to the size difference. Yeah. And Tierney, while having a lot of success in bare knuckle, is not sitting on a lot of knockouts. So, we don't know if he really packs that power or not. I'm not saying he doesn't. We just don't know yet.
Yeah.
But he's a very, very skilled fighter, and I think he's going to get a pretty overwhelming decision.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty decisive win for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's a high-level guy. I mean, he's not coming in as the champ.
But he's a contender.
But he is, the champ in another organization. That's basically British bare knuckle boxing has been around a long time.
Yeah.
So I'm excited, really glad to see that he's on this card because there was talk about getting him on the first New York card.
Yeah.
But it didn't work out. But now here we go.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and bring Connor and our interview with him on. Joining us today is bare knuckle boxing's 165-pound world champion. He's coming off back-to-back title fights, and he has just signed with the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships here in the USA. Everybody, please join me in welcoming to the show Connor, the Brumtown Bomber Tierney.
Thank you for joining us, Connor.
Yeah, we appreciate you being here. I like your shirt. I love that show.
You know what? I got it for Christmas last year. And only wear it in the winter and it gets cold here. And obviously it's starting to get the winter now, so throw it on.
I watch it with my daughter. She's a big fan.
Yeah, I like it too, to be fair.
Well, listen, to go ahead and get started with, let's talk a little bit about your combat sports history and a decision that you made that I find very interesting. Now, you've been boxing since you were 8 years old. You had, 48 amateur fights?
Yeah.
And then when it came time to turn pro, you decided not to go with the pro boxing, but instead to transition right into bare knuckle. Can you tell us a little bit about that decision?
Yeah, well, I was boxing amateur. And over in England, in the Midlands, where I live, West Midlands and Birmingham, we've got a thing called the East Midlands Box Cup. I fought in the ABAs, which is the nationals. I got to the Midlands semis, and then I fought in the East Midlands. And I don't know, I sort of quit, and I thought, no, I don't want to do it anymore. And everyone was like, why don't you go pro? And I thought, I ain't got really a big enough fan base for it, but I always wanted to be in the limelight. So the thing is, I'm impatient. Like, I don't want to sort of go and fight in a civic hall in front of 500 fans. I want to be fighting in front of 1,000 fans straight away with my face on the TV. And BKB sort of came up, and they were looking for like an 8-man prize fighter. And my mate had fought in it last minute notice, John. And he'd got like the fastest knockout in it. And I thought, you know what, I fancy a bit of that because I like the limelight and everyone's sort of like, everybody watching it, tuning in. It was on telly. So I applied, and he was like, send me some footage. Sent him some footage and from all my amateur fights and that. And realistically, when I look at it, no offense to the other lads, but technically I was better than all of them. And yeah, I got in the first. I got in the first ever prize fighter, which was like 3 continuous fights straight after back to back to get a 10 grand prize. And then that was the way into it. And people were sort of like, how can you go into bare knuckle? Like, it's just brutal to go from gloved amateur straight into bare knuckle. And I don't know, I think you just got to be a little bit of a nutcase, ain't you, as well?
Well, that's perfect. So moving over into the bare knuckle fighting championships, for people that don't know, you like to get into your opponent's head. You like to, kind of get under people's skin, whether it be social media or in the ring. How do you feel like you're separate from everyone else over here in America?
I think, you know what? There's a part of me that's like, yeah, I can be cocky. Yeah, I can be not. Well, I say I'm not arrogant, but some people do say I'm arrogant. But like, I think what it is obviously I can get in your head, but then I'm very humble and I'm respectful as well. So if you meet me in person, everyone meets me. They see me on social media. They see me like on the TV boxing, and they think I'm this absolute arrogant prick. And then when they see me on real life, they're like, "Oh, you know what? You actually really sound like you're a proper nice kid." And I'm just like, "Well, yeah, because obviously I have to put that much. I have to put 110 into the sport. I want to be known. I want to be big. And you're not going to be big sitting under a rock, are you? Do you know what I mean? You've got to get yourself out there." So yeah, I think being in America, I think I've got the perfect personality. To be fair, I think a lot of people like that cocky swagger. But at the same time, you know, meet me in person and I'm humble and stuff, and I'll give you any time of day. I don't care if, you know, if you're someone who's not a fan and they'll just want to come up and say hello. I'll speak to you. I'll take my time out to you. You know what I mean? I'm not that type of person where I'll be like, no. I'm busy. To me, it's all me. It's not. I want to sort of give back as well. So
For sure.
yeah, taking that into America as well, and bringing that to the fight game. Being from England as well, not being a cocky and arrogant as what it is. It's like I'm cocky, but I'm funny. Like I've got a good sense of humour, and I also take the piss out of myself. You know what I mean? So when I take the piss out of myself, people are like, "Oh, you know what? You're actually quite funny," and I'm like, "Wow, yeah, I know."
Well, obviously, I think you made the right choice going into bare knuckle, seeing how in your fourth fight, you take the short notice fight, you beat Connolly, and then you immediately give him the rematch and beat him again. So, clearly you 5 fights in, you're winning titles. Now that you're coming into the USA and you're looking into the BKFC organization, which is quite a bit different than what you've got over in the UK. I mean, you're a lot more established over there as a sport.
Yeah.
I think it's looked at quite a bit different. Here, it's still, kind of finding its spot, and it still has some misconceptions about the brutality and other things.
Yeah.
But one difference I notice a lot of is right now BKFC is made up of like a lot of MMA fighters, a lot of retired professional boxers, not so much as the MMA though, but there's not a lot of pure bare knuckle boxers. How do you think that that's going to give you an advantage coming into this particular organization and in your division?
I've been training for a long time as a pure boxer. Technically, I am one of the, in my opinion, in the whole of bare knuckle, in the whole world, I reckon I'm technically one of the best ever that'll do it in terms of like technical fundamentals, upright boxing. I'll beat you. But I think bringing this into the game, seeing people running straight lines, I come off at angles. I'm sharp. I'm upright. I don't get dragged in. I'll get dragged in if I get a bit emotional. But the last fight was a bit of beef between the two of us, so that was more personal. We live like a mile apart as well, so we don't like each other. Yeah, so that's like real beef. That was like if we seen each other, we would have been dead. One of us would have been dead. You know what I mean? So
I feel it.
But like in the ring, I'm focused. I'm switched on. Like I'm smiling. I'm ready to go. So I know what's coming. I know what's coming for me. An animal, a rabid animal that's ready to just come swinging at me. And I just take I've got there's plans in place already to spin off angles, little pot shots, wear them down. And the ring in BKFC is huge compared to BKB. Really big.
Is it? I didn't know that.
Just looking at it, when you look at so BKB look big in the ring on the YouTube. It's not. It's really small. It's about 16 foot. It's
wow. 16. Okay.
I reckon BKFC one's about 20 foot. So
yeah, square footage wise, that's going to be a lot more room for you to move. I mean, I know you like to move in and out. You come in, you strike, you bounce back out. Your angles are something that you're correct. You don't see a lot of right now in BKFC. No. It's a lot of that just linear in straight line movement, not a lot of head movement.
No.
And then of course there's the MMA fighters whose their boxing is never as up to par as they think it is. We do cover a lot of that sport, but I have a question that I've just been wondering about bare knuckle boxing in general that kind of relates to this is when it comes to your training camps and your sparring. Like I see what the MMA guys do here in America, which is they just put on the big 18-ounce gloves and they spar with each other. Yeah. And having been an amateur boxer too, like I can't help but think that that's almost like a disadvantage when they step into the bare knuckle ring for the first time and they don't have this big defensive pad in front of them. How do you spar with gloves, and what are your thoughts on that?
I spar with 16s and a head guard, and mainly for that is because these are really important, and we don't want to have cuts when we go in. The last thing you want to do is get a big cut in sparring and then go into the fight with weak skin, because as soon as that opens up, it's going to cause problems. The gloves as well. I mean, you just, I think a lot of people, I mean, I would spar in 4-ounce MMA gloves if I was 10, 12 weeks away. I would never spar in 10, 12, I'd never spar in like 4 to 6 ounce gloves MMA gloves, that is 4 weeks away, because legally in amateur boxing, it takes 30 days to recover from a head trauma. So if you're sparring 30 days out or 25 days out with MMA gloves and you get caught with a good shot and you're gone on your legs and you have to take a bit of time, there's a bit of concussion there, you're actually, apparently your brain doesn't fully recover for up to 30 days. Now, if you went into the BKFC fight 25 days in and your head's still not all there and you catch another one of them and you're just cold out, it's a risk that you don't want to take. So any sort of risk I'm going to take in my sparring, wherever when I want to go spar the good sort of good level pros that can bang, I'm sparring them like at least 5 weeks away from the fight. I don't want to be taking big punches 4 weeks away and then going into the sort of BKFC where I'm a bit worn down because I've had some hard spars. I always have my hard spars on the build up, and the last 3-4 weeks I'm having fast spars with lighter people to keep, to keep sharp, to keep fresh, keep quick on my feet. But not a lot of fighters know about that. They don't understand that when you get a good blow to the head, the brain, obviously, it recovers, but there's only so much of it recovers. There's memories inside it. When you get a good smack and you're gone, it takes a long time to recover. So if you get hit again with that same shot, bare knuckle, you can be out because your brain's fully not recovered. It's mad, isn't it? Obviously, the brain's really sensitive. There's a lot of neurons and nerves in there. So once it gets it ricochets and like you cribble them and you're gone, your legs are gone. Obviously, people don't understand how long that actually takes to recover from it. I mean, I've been knocked out a couple of times, like in the amateurs and BKB, and it takes about a week or two to get actually over the concussion because your head's still a bit. It's still in the back of your head, like you can. So I never ever want to take them risks going into the fight. I always spar with 16-ounce gloves, head guard, but then all my pad work is bare knuckle. My bag work's bare knuckle. Pad work. People again, pad work with the gloves. I'll do it for the camera because the sound catching the noise makes it look good on the camera. But when I'm doing proper pad work, there's a little pair of wraps for my wrists, and I'm doing it there because the accuracy on the pad. When you get small pads and you're being able to catch them with quick shots, that's better for me for my focus and accuracy, bare knuckle, if you get me. When you wear a 16, 14-ounce glove, you've got an extra 2-3 inch width either side and another 3-inch width length on top. So you've got like almost like a small football, like soccer ball in England, hitting the pad. But then when you look at your knuckle, look at the size of that circumference, like 6-7 inches. Then if you're used to catching someone with the end of the glove or with, cuffing them and catching them as a shot, you're used to it. You want to be accurate with your shots. That's what I train. I train with pinpoint accuracy. I don't want to be wasting energy and missing shots. So, yeah, it's a bit of obviously, like, I've got a bit more science towards what I'm doing.
That sounds really smart. I like that. That's great. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and so now that you're moving over to the BKFC, you see kind of where you fit as far as like the division. Where do you feel like you fit as far as like your next opponent, your first opponent coming in? Is it going to be someone more seasoned, or do you want to maybe get more fights in BKFC because the clinch, and there's a few different other rules that are just a little bit different, but they're kind of the same idea. Is that something where you want to get more fights in before you go for a title, or you want to step right into the fire?
If I'm honest with you, at the start, I wanted to just go head like balls deep and take titles. But then obviously I was thinking, with me, I'm not really scared of who I fight. Like, I think now I'm just getting impatient, waiting for a fight, an announcement. I spoke to Feldman today. They're waiting on the visa, they're making sure the visa's 100%. When that's ready, they're ready to go. In terms of opponents, they've offered me a couple. We've spoke about Alvin Brito, which is a cracking fight. You know what I mean? Alvin's obviously the best in 165. He's awkward. It's not an easy fight, but it's a fight that I know that I can win because I'm much bigger than Alvin. And Alvin, when I look at, do you know his last one? Was it Cruz or Julio?
I believe it was Cruz.
Cruz.
But I could be mistaken.
I think it was, yeah. See, that Cruz was a pro boxer. And this was the same as Caleb Harris. They fought pro boxers, Derek Harris and this Cruz. Now, these two boxers, right, were old seasoned pro boxers, almost like veterans in their pro careers. They were coming to their end of careers. They wasn't young. They wasn't hungry. They looked like to me that they was just they were dipping their toes in the water and seeing what it was like. They were lazy on their feet. They were flat-footed walking forward. There was no sort of real move. Most of what they'd done, their successful work was on the inside. I'm a completely different fighter to them type of fighters. You won't see me trying to sit deep in the pocket and land shots. But I have been training for the clinch. I've been training with a Thai coach once a week. We're literally sparring, clinching and uppercutting. And now all of a sudden I'm sparring him against heavyweights and I'm throwing him in the clinch straight away and I'm attacking him. So I'm getting that programmed into me for when I'm in there. I'm literally just thinking of everything and just bottling it all in. It's a different sport to BKB. It's a completely different sport.
Sure.
And I'll be ready 100%. So in terms of who I want, you know what? Right now, I just honestly couldn't give a shit. Like, I'll fight the best in the world or fight the worst. I just put someone in front of me right now because I've been training a long time without an announcement and I just need to fight.
Yeah.
Now, if I understand, you're 6'2", right?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
So with your size, you can move around weight classes a little bit. Since the 165-pound BKFC, they don't have a champion right now, as far as I know, but we do at 175, and there is, of course, Louis Palomino at 55. Have you given any thought to moving into any of those divisions and trying for that instant title shot?
Yeah, so obviously for me, where I'm at now is I get to 165. I want to do, so right now I'm sitting around about 79, 80 kilo, which is about 175. I think with a water cut, let's say how I can get down to. If the water cut goes well and I drop lower than the 165, then maybe it's a possibility to move to 145. I've done it before when I was younger, but I'm a lot older now. So saying not a lot, but compared to when it was the last time I was 155 pound would have been when I was 19, 20. I'm 27 now. So I've got a lot of years on, and obviously my job is different. I sit at a desk, so I don't have the activeness of keeping myself like constantly, burning calories and losing weight. But the 175, I've been looking. It's a scary division to be fair, though. That 175. There's some like for me, when I look at myself in the mirror at 175 now, I look nowhere as big as Lane, Diaz, and Alves. They look huge. They look massive for the weight, and I don't get it. I just look and. But I don't know if these are very small guys. These might be 5'7", 5'8" guys.
They're definitely very muscular.
Yeah.
So
it's definitely some muscle-bound guys. And, well, that's where I feel like you also do have a little bit of an advantage over some of those guys. A lot of these guys in BKFC are coming in, like we said before, from MMA and stuff like that, and they don't necessarily have as extensive as a background just in the sport of bare knuckle alone. Do you find yourself like just having a step ahead of all those guys, whereas like although there is small different like rule changes, you've been in this doing this for years now. Do you feel like those kind of guys, you're not worried about them, that you can go in there and compete with the best of the best right away?
Yeah, cool. So this is I'm coming to literally the end of a third year in bare knuckle now. A lot of these pro boxers who are actually turning over from BKFC pro boxers, I've never had any bare knuckle experience. Where I've literally gone head first into it. I've had 6 fights, 5 wins, 1 loss. I've suffered a bad knockout in the first round. I know ever since I've suffered that knockout, I've had 4 wins on the bounce, because I knew where I went wrong. So I think that's what, with the pedigree I've got and experience in bare knuckle, I think that people are going to underestimate, because it's not like they're not going to bring me over as an ex-amateur boxer. They're going to bring me over as a bare knuckle world champion. So it's not like when I listen to the commentary on the Caleb fight and the Brito fight, it's not like, oh yeah, he was a pro, he's a pro boxer and he's had 25 fights, or he's had. It's not. I wasn't a boxer now. It's gone from being an amateur boxer to being a bare knuckle boxing world champion. So when I come over there, I don't need to worry about getting hit with a bare fist, because I've done it 6 times now. Do you know what I mean? I've fought a 7-round world title fight. These guys have not been past 5, 7. And it was hard work. Obviously, my hands actually weren't too bad. I think I broke the end of my little finger, but my face, I looked like the Elephant Man.
Yeah, that is a major difference, is the 7 rounds versus the 5 rounds, which also swings in your favor. I mean, getting into these 5-rounders is going to feel quite a bit more refreshing, I would imagine.
Yeah,
A little bit easier.
That's it. With the 7 rounds was obviously when I fought James. James is a very good fighter as well. Like, James is not a mug. He gave Franco a very tough fight. You know, he's up there as one of the best right now. And that 7 rounds was hard because I didn't even like. I don't know if you've watched. I didn't even perform how I can. And a lot of people said that. A lot of people said, "Con, you could have boxed a lot better than that. You made it hard." And I said I did because there was too much emotion and beef, and there was too much hatred in there. So I was swinging and missing a lot, and I was putting too much aggression into me where I weren't relaxing and focusing. There was times when I was switched on, and there was times when I was losing my head. But for 7 rounds, I came out of it, and I wasn't like in that 7th round. Even though we was gassed, we was throwing a lot of shots. Like, if you watch that 7 rounds of me and him fighting, that's not 7 rounds of tit-a-tat boxing. That's 7 rounds of constant pressure on each other. So I watched a lot of these BKFC fighters, especially a lot of the MMA lads, and I always tend to find when they have a hard fight for 2 rounds, they're very gassed for like the last 3. I was watching Brito on the Diaz fight. When Diaz put pressure on him 2 and 3, 4 and 5, he was blowing. You could tell he was like, leaning over the top of him, holding on and stuff. You could tell it was a lot. It took a lot out of him, and I think that obviously their training is different to mine. I'm repeatedly throwing shots, bang, 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 back in and out for 7, 8 rounds sparring. These guys are doing 6, 7 rounds, but it's very complacent sparring. I reckon they're doing very like touch sparring, couple of shots here. Do you know what I mean? Whereas me, it's full on. I'm sparring right now. My sparring partners are not under the weight of 85 kilo. I'm sparring cruiserweights and heavyweights and light heavyweights. So I'm literally like, I'm in there with 17 stone. I'm with Podmore, British champion, bare knuckle champion. I'm sparring Tyson Fury's cousin, Noah Burton. I'm sparring Harry Fears, who's turned pro. These are all cruiserweights and super heavyweights. So I'm just getting me used to the pressure and the weight on top of me. And which obviously, being a bigger person than the people in 165 is going to benefit me, because if I'm moving heavyweights around now and cruiserweights, and when I say I'm moving around, I'm hitting them and I'm hurting them. I'm wobbling a couple of them. I don't know what I'm going to be doing to them 165 and BKFC.
Yeah.
Putting them down.
Well, we're really looking forward to seeing it, though. That's for sure.
I just
Hopefully,
just get flattened now, not 30.
well, hopefully, I know there's been some talk of getting you on this November New York card with BKFC, and hopefully we'll get some news on that in the future, because we know we're really looking forward to your debut. So are our listeners, and I'm sure they'd love to know how to connect with you further. What's the best social media for them to follow you on?
Instagram's the best. Obviously, my Instagram at Connor Tierney, CONNOR TIERNEY BKFC. You know what? I'm not clever to me, but I'm quick on the ball. I'm not.
Well, we know it's late over there. We're in Vegas and you're over across the pond. We appreciate you coming on the show this afternoon for us, this evening for you. We wish you nothing but luck in your debut whenever that happens, and hopefully we can have you back on afterward and talk about how your victory went.
Yeah, hopefully. If it doesn't happen November the 6th, I'm pretty sure there's like 3 or 4 more cards after that anyway, the way they're moving. So either way, it'll be a big fight.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks so much, man.
Thank you for coming on.
No worries. Cheers, thanks, guys.
All right, thanks a lot.
All right, well, that was great. Hopefully we're going to have Connor on for a fresh interview after his victory this Saturday night. And everybody, please check that out. It's March 12th, this upcoming Saturday. Check it on the BKTV app. And I believe you can order them on Fight TV as well. But if I'm not mistaken, it's cheaper just to go to BKTV and sign up for their $5 app. I'm pretty sure they're $20 otherwise on Fight TV, but I don't know. Now, to wrap out the show, Paul, we have, distressing MMA news to discuss, but I just don't see how we can't discuss it. For those of you that maybe somehow haven't heard, Can Velasquez was arrested recently and is currently still sitting in jail under charges of attempted murder, I think reckless endangerment, and several other things.
Yeah.
And as we're recording this, he was denied bail this morning.
Uh-huh.
The judge specifically referenced his reckless actions in public, including an 11-mile chase, ramming the suspect, ramming the other person's car with his vehicle, and then shooting at them multiple times. But Kane didn't. He had some reasons here.
Yeah, it wasn't unprovoked.
Apparently, I'm still not sure as to the status
Uh-huh.
of the exact nature of the relative, but it was a close relative in his family, was allegedly molested over 100 times by a particular individual who, as near as we know, not being experts on this matter, was arrested for the crime, but then released on bail.
Yeah.
Whereupon Kane heard about this bail and him being back out on the streets and got incredibly mad.
Yeah. It's a sticky situation.
It's a very sticky situation, Paul, because we can all go, yeah, no shit,
yeah,
man.
Yeah. I've got a sister, I've got, obviously, and any woman and, family members, stuff like that, you would always say, like, if something like that happened, that you would do the same. And I just feel like Kane took that in his hands and handled it the only way he felt was just.
Yes.
And that's really
And
no ifs, ands, or buts about it, I think. Honestly.
My only wish was that he had tempered his anger temporarily, and bottled it up for a while and thought things out a little bit better.
Yeah.
So things weren't. And I'm speaking hypothetically here. I'm not advocating violence against another human being on our our podcast or anything of that. Don't misunderstand, but just for legal reasons. But I mean, he could have planned things out where it wasn't so public, and it could have been like, did Kane do something? This guy's disappeared. What happened? Instead of making, I wish he hadn't made a public spectacle. And I'm not trying to sound critical of a man who's acting, in my mind, clearly justified as well, but he did, dude, an 11-mile high-speed chase through California while you're shooting a gun at somebody is very dangerous to people who are just going about their fucking day.
Yeah, for sure.
And he didn't even hit the guy who did it. He hit the dude's dad.
Yeah.
And he's lucky it wasn't going through the car and hitting somebody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to shit on Kane here. I just wish he would have done it a different way and buried this motherfucker out in the woods somewhere, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, frankly.
It's just a super unfortunate situation all around, you know what I mean?
It's terrible, man. This is like a 4-year-old, from what I understand. It's horrible.
Horrible.
It's a nightmare. And honestly, if Kane is like, no, I did what I did and I'm willing to take the time, I completely respect that.
Yeah, I respect that as well.
Because there's certain things that you can do to me as a human being or to people that I love that I'm perfectly willing to take time to do for.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool. I'll go to court. I'll explain my actions. I'll have a jury.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, yep, here's why I did it. Do what you think is appropriate.
Exactly.
Because I'm a fucking grown-ass man. And there's just lines that I have my own moral codes that outweigh society's moral codes. And because I live in society, I'll accept the consequences. So I get it. That's my only. I just wish you would have been a little less public, bro.
Yeah. It was unfortunate.
Or maybe use your hands.
Yeah, or fuck, just beat him up.
You could have followed him on the sly and waited until he got out of his car and then
knocked him out cold.
Fuck out of him. And then you're looking at aggravated assault, not attempted murder.
Yeah.
With all this reckless shit thrown in.
Yeah.
Did you know what I mean? And you're Kane, like, you can fuck him and his dad and their 6 brothers up probably at the same time.
Yeah.
Again, I get it though. I can't even imagine that, bro. I have friends that have suffered that terrible thing like one time.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, like, they said it was over 100 times, bro.
That's terrible.
I don't know what to say about these things. And I mean, if you're going to get stuck doing time, Kane's prison life isn't going to be that bad because let's be honest here, he's unlikely going to get off. We don't need to be a legal expert to go, well, he's going to do some time.
Yeah, no, he's going to do some time for sure, unfortunately.
But he's a bad motherfucker,
Yeah.
and he's going to go in there highly respected. Like chomos, as they're called in prison, are fucking hated, bro. He's going to go into the California prisons as a fucking hero. The only downside is
and he's already
prisons.
famous too.
Yeah,
like
it's all gang out there, dude. He's got to go with the Mexicans because that's the way prison is out there.
Yeah.
Like, if you know anything about LA prisons, it's 100% race.
Well, he's in Northern California though.
Nobody's gonna fuck with him.
Yeah, no one's fucking with
No
Can
one's gonna
Velasquez.
fuck with him.
No one's fucking with Can Velasquez. I don't care.
You know, and if he can avoid getting forced into doing some fucking work, you know, and extending his sentence.
Well, I think that's
he
where
might
his
get early
celebrity.
parole
That's why I feel like his celebrity will come in. Like I feel like naturally he's.
Yeah, because he's not like just somebody coming in.
Yeah,
and
I do think that would be something as like you don't want that fool getting in any fights in the yard. He's gonna fucking he's gonna kill somebody.
Yeah, he shouldn't have to prove he's down. Like if people don't know what I'm saying by putting in work, I mean you just got to understand like.
Well, prison's
different on the East Coast and the West Coast.
Yeah,
like East Coast, you go to prison, you can be like a lone wolf and kind of mind your own shit and get away with that shit. On the West Coast, though, it's totally different.
Yeah,
it's 100% gang shit, and the gangs are 100% race based.
Yeah,
like,
so
there's no avoiding it. Like he can't like not get involved. He can only hope his involvement.
Well, that's why you gotta hope that he would like, even though he did what he did, like there's some. I don't know.
Maybe they just let him ride it out so he can get early parole. Like,
something
you know
like
what I mean?
that. Yeah, I hope. I just hope that in the end, obviously, it just sucks.
It's
a shitty, like I said, it's just a shitty situation. To go to prison. It's just not only that; it's just a shitty situation all the way around, man. It's just like it just sucks. I don't really know what else.
I doubt he's going to get a low-level prison, like some fucking minimum security shit.
Well, I mean,
they didn't even give him bail.
Attempted murder is, there's like there's certain. That's a high security type crime.
But ultimately, then I guess both of us would definitely be on everybody's doing the free cane. And I absolutely, I mean, I think you should let the man out with a promise not to fucking take it out on civilians again.
Yeah.
But if there's one thing that pisses the legal system off, unfortunately, as well, is when people try to take justice on their own. Even though I just made it clear that I would do that as well in certain circumstances. But the legal system tends to really fucking crack on that kind of shit, bro.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, what is this? They're letting the fucking pedo out on bail, and Kane can't get bail?
Yeah, it's crazy.
How do you let somebody out on bail that did that to one person over 100 times, allegedly?
Yeah.
And what, do you think that's the only one he did?
Yeah.
You think that was it? You think he teed off like that the first time?
Yeah, no.
You should have fucking locked him up and thrown away the key, these motherfuckers.
Yeah, for sure.
It's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
I heard there was some case where some fucking lady, and I didn't research this to know if it's true. Honestly, I read it in the comment sections of fucking like MMA fighting or some shit. So it could be bogus. But people were referencing a case where some woman like chopped up her boyfriend, killed him, and like dismembered him, and she made bail.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But she wasn't trying to take justice into her own hands in the public manner that Kane was.
Yeah.
So it's tough, man.
It's a tough situation all the way around. And I guess there's really nothing more than you can do is to kind of wish for the best, hope for the lightest possible sentence that he can
He's
get.
got to take a jury trial, bro. He can't do it.
Well, there's no. I don't know.
Plead not guilty. Take a jury trial by jury, bro.
How do you defend any way
temporary insanity?
Yeah, but then that's a whole.
It's a whole different charge than fucking. I mean, I'm saying it might be unlikely, but dude, when you put your faith in at least some people who might have children, because there's no way you can weed out a jury that doesn't have children.
Yeah,
and they might say, try to put a blackout on why he did it. You know what I mean? And say that's not allowed in the trial or some craziness, but everybody's going to know.
Yeah.
Well, it's just going to be crazy to watch. We'll be talking about this as it unfolds. There's no getting around it. He's one of the biggest stars in mixed martial arts history, former UFC heavyweight champion.
One of the greatest of all time.
Absolutely one of the greatest of all time. Yeah. Doing something every single one of us can sympathize with, at least as a man. I can't speak for women, but fuck, man. some
It's
shit.
just a shit situation.
Best to him, man.
Yeah.
I hope that this ends with the least amount of sentencing as possible. And that other dude, if he's found guilty on those charges,
You burn in hell.
well, his prison life will be a lot different than Kane's.
Oh yeah, for sure. Without a doubt. Well,
wait, no, one more thing, because I don't want to
one
end the
more
show while
thing.
talking about that either.
All right, cool.
There's another thing I brought
What?
up about in the
What's
beginning of the episode, the Conor McGregor.
Oh,
There's been
yeah.
shit changing in the Conor McGregor
Yeah,
landscape,
it's been real.
and I think it's pointing to one thing. Like,
yeah, the UFC wants him back. The UFC wants that cash cow
They
back,
want-
bro.
they
They want the
key.
star.
The key was making Islam Makhachev refight Dariush.
Yeah,
Dana said that's what's happening. He's got to refight him, and that's not happening next. They can't book it yet. He's still injured. He's
Yeah.
not doing surgery, so it's going to stretch it out.
and
And Connor is already telling Oliveira, if he wins, just hang in there a couple months, kid, and I'll be there. And Disney is behind the UFC now. Ultimately, it's
Yeah.
a big corporation. They've already proven. We've talked about it in our segment about how the UFC doesn't like their fans anymore. They're not
Yeah.
making it because the fans want it. They're making it because that shit will sell like a motherfucker. And everybody behind the scenes thinks that Connor stands a chance of winning that fight
yeah,
because we've just seen Charles get smacked the fuck up a couple times.
that's true. But what
Connor-
about the flip side though? I don't even think Charles has to win. I think he fights Charles or Gaethje next. I think he'll fight Gaethje too. I think that's a lot more dangerous, like, of a fight if you were to fight Gaethje. But like,
I think either way,
I think it's fucked up, and I don't think it's really like necessarily right that he's just stepping over everybody
after
and getting
two
the
straight
title
TKOs,
shot.
even though one of them was a broken leg.
Like, yeah, he's just getting a title shot. I don't know if that's necessarily right, but I'm in it. I'm here for it.
The
I'll watch
UFC
it.
wants him, even if they just got one title defense out of it. Conor McGregor winning the title again is
Yeah.
mega bucks.
Oh,
Bro.
mega bucks.
Putting the shine back on him as the champ and giving him all that air. They don't need to promote him, dog.
No,
They already know that's the one guy. The one
and
fucking
honestly,
guy.
I think Charles is probably the most winnable fight for Conor.
Yeah,
Just because he gets hit.
he does. Absolutely.
He and honestly, so does Gaethje. But I think
Yeah,
Gaethje would
Gaethje's
be
a rock,
be a
though.
pace. It'd be a pace thing that where Conor would lose. I think Oliveira.
Those leg kicks.
Yeah,
I mean, busted that leg. Ooh. I'll have made that piece of steel my fuck Gaethje's leg up though. I don't know.
I was gonna say I don't know. It might be.
Maybe he used that bionic power.
Yeah.
I don't
And I
know.
do think Conor is like taking a year off, like his body's changed a bit. Like if you look at him now,
Oh,
he looks much different than he did before.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think it's fair or just that he's
No,
that he's
not at
like
all.
stepping into a title shot? No, but like I'm not
Dude, it's
surprised.
the UFC. Fair
motherfuckers-
and Just really. I mean, let's be honest. Do they play? If Fair and Just was at play, we wouldn't be talking about how the UFC fucks their fans, the fighters, fucking all of us with
Yeah.
their decisions. So, but honestly, I would be excited for it. They know no matter what, they get one big fight,
Well, because it's
and they get the potential for so much more. I mean, even just one defense, if they stretch it out, they'll make it wait 6 months, dude. Give Conor fucking maybe even 9 months. Give it a
Well,
long time to milk it.
it's like the thing I sent you too.
Fuck,
Is like
bro.
okay, I'll just lay this scenario out real quick. Not because I necessarily think it's gonna happen or anything, but just like this is like the UFC's best case scenario. Conor comes in, he beats Charles, and then Conor goes on and he fights Islam and beats Islam, and then makes Khabib come back and fight him again, because that would be the biggest pay-per-view of all time.
Yeah, that's probably Dana's wet dream you just laid out.
Literally,
Yeah.
because that's the one thing that even to a point that's what Khabib has spoke about. So who planted that seed in Khabib's head?
Yeah.
I don't know. Khabib's been in the front row of every single UFC fight night for the last 47 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
I'm
Guy who's never
thinking-
coming back to Vegas.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
that guy.
thinking Dana White has at least spoke to him about this. Like, well, what would make you to come back? You know, like he's like, well, I'd beat Conor up again. He's okay. Well, What
How
would
can-
take?
how
What
can we
would
get
take
there?
it?
Yeah.
What would take that? Well, Conor would have to beat Champion. He'd have to beat Islam, and Dana's like, okay, we'll make it happen. We'll see what we can
They
do.
could set it in motion. Is all the UFC can do, and Dana, love him or hate him, he knows this. What you can do is just set it up
Yeah,
and hope for the best.
hope for the best. Yeah,
And the only way you set it up is Conor walks back into an immediate title shot
yeah,
against
he
the
walks
champion.
in. Yep, and then
You don't risk him losing to somebody else.
Yeah, no.
You give him this. This is the last run. They would think.
I
This
don't
is it.
think he would beat Islam at this point in his career.
No, he'd have
but-
to really show something against Oliveira.
Yeah, like no, because that's the thing.
I'm not trying to write off Gaethje. I'm sorry. I'm just going with the odds of the current
Yeah.
champion and just thinking along the lines of who's champ right now.
I just think Gaethje's little too reckless for Charles. I think Charles is going to catch Gaethje with some kind of submission because he's just going to take him down and take him out of position.
We'll see. We'll definitely dive into that when that's closer.
But yeah, I just think that would be what the UFC would dream of. You know what I mean? They all
I agree 100%.
it makes too much sense and definitely makes too much money. You know what I mean?
That's Dana's big wet dream right there. Well,
You don't set that fight up unless that's what you're hoping for.
mm-mm.
Because honestly, on the flip side, Conor also has shown that he's been a guy who has won the belt twice and never defended either of them. So, like, there must be some kind of grand scheme if they're trying to put the belt on Conor
Well,
at this point in his career.
And I would think at some point Conor would like to rectify that thing that's said about him.
Yeah.
All he's got to do is defend it once and win.
Yeah.
You know, and then he can fucking waltz off and be like,
That's the problem, though. He could also win it and be like, "Shh, look at me. I'm out." You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's Conor
it's a risk
McGregor's
the UFC's
allure,
gotta
though.
take.
You
All
know?
they can do,
Yeah.
like we said, is put it in motion. So
Yeah. True.
I think that's the show, everybody.
Yep.
We're everywhere on the radio, every podcast outlet platform there is. It's a bunch of links in one spot, plus some cool merch and other things.
SWATmma.com. Head over there, click the gear button, buy a t-shirt, and support the podcast. Then follow us on Instagram at SWATmma Podcast.
Thanks, everybody.
Peace.